Hello, my name is hazelmillichamp, and this is the Light on Leeds podcast, the podcast that shines a light on all of the great people in Leeds and the fantastic things that they're up to. For this week's episode, I have two members of Leeds Hunters RUFC, which is an inclusive rugby club. The club was formed in 2016. It's got a rapidly growing membership that is broad and diverse. They've recently developed an O2 Touch team that aims to provide rugby access to all, including women of all sexualities and the trans community. Chris Woods and Daniel Narini are both membership officers, and they tell me all about Leeds Hunters. I had a great time chatting to them, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the episode. On this episode of the Light on Leeds podcast, I have members of Leeds Hunters Rugby come to speak to me. I have Chris Woods and Daniel Narini, both of whom are membership officers. Hello, Chris. Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me to speak to me today. Can you tell me, what is Leeds Hunters?
So Leeds Hunters is an inclusive rugby club. So we effectively are a team of rugby players. We joined probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So we formed as a club, and yeah, we're open to all players. And we've got recently started our own touch league as well. So that's touch rugby and rugby union.
Excellent. And can you, I mean, you don't have to give me the full history of everything, but what is the difference between rugby union and touch rugby?
Touch rugby is sort of the non-contact version of the sport. So full contact, the stuff that you'll see on the Six Nations, that's the stuff that the union players play. And then touch rugby, sort of a slightly quicker, less contact driven. So it's great because it's also inclusive of not just male players but all players. So all players can join the touch team, and then male players for the union team.
Excellent. And so how did you get involved, Daniel?
So I moved up to Leeds over a year ago, and I was kind of looking to make some friends, and I'd spotted the Leeds Hunters on Instagram before I'd moved. Spent a good 6 months not wanting to approach, being too nervous, and then Ross, the club captain, actually reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to come and give it a go?" I did in January this year and never looked back.
Brilliant.
Had a really great time.
And how about you, Chris? How did you get involved in the first place?
So I used to live in Newcastle, and I remember seeing the rugby team, and a bit like Dan, sort of sat and watched and made loads of excuses why not to join. And then I moved to Leeds about 5-6 years ago. And literally within the first week of moving, I've been approached by 3 different people about the rugby team. You should definitely join the rugby team. And it was sort of like following the directions of fate. It was sort of like, well, it's almost there's no excuse not to join. So within a week of moving to Leeds, I'd bought my first pair of rugby boots. I went down to the first training session, which used to be at Roundhay Park. And never looked back since.
And for people who might be listening to this who are in the position that you've both just described, feeling a little bit nervous about getting involved and getting in touch, what would you say to them?
I'd say jump in. You know, there's never a perfect time to do anything, and the longer you leave it, the more nervous you get. I'm sure Chris was the same. The nerves build, you start to get shaky, but within 2 minutes of being at the club, you realise it's such a friendly, open, safe space, and then you regret all the months that you sat there not wanting to do it. So just dive in; you will not regret it.
And we don't. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, we don't underestimate the massive step that is to take from not attending and not stepping out there to making that big leap and jumping off and actually getting involved. But the good news is that nearly every single person in the club will have gone through that same journey. So yeah. you're friends with like-minded people, not just from an inclusive perspective, but also from a perspective of we've all had to make that leap at that time. So we know exactly what you're going through, and we're all there to support you as well.
Oh, fantastic. And was there a need then to set up a rugby team that was specifically inclusive?
Yeah, it's a tough answer on that one, but yes, there is. The good news is that hopefully as society comes on and the sport comes on, hopefully there'll be less and less of a need. But as you said in the previous segment, it's about making inclusive spaces. It's about making safe spaces. So actually, it's about saying to people who may have had an experience, growing up not feeling very included at school sports, seeing not many familiar faces out and about, and thinking I don't belong there. That doesn't really look like me, or they don't act like me, so therefore I don't fit in. So we sort of hopefully bridge that gap and say, we are a home for you. We're a family. You can come and join us. It doesn't matter about your ability. It doesn't matter about who you are. We really want to make you involved. And then by us working then with other teams within the local area, they then become more inclusive as a result. So then we've got hopefully this halo effect of more other teams becoming inclusive. And it just means then that hopefully we find a home for someone in sport generally. They don't necessarily have to come to an inclusive rugby club, but we're there to support them. But equally, hopefully that other clubs nearby will benefit from the partnerships that we can develop with them.
Yeah, that's great. And as membership officers, what is your role?
Well, I suppose we have shared the role, and I suppose there's two key elements. One of them is to bring on board new players, and keep the team fresh and supplied with people that are really enthusiastic and want to get involved, but also looking after our current membership. So we have around 80 to 90 members currently, and it's also supporting them with what they want to get out of the club, what they want to achieve, and kind of the two-pronged. Chris looks after the latter, and I tend to look after the former, but lots of crossover.
And how can people get involved?
Probably the easiest way is to try and find us on Instagram at Leeds Hunters Rugby, and drop us a message, and it'll be one of the team that will get back to you, either myself or Chris, and we'll get you along, whether that's to one of our specific kind of new player sessions where everyone's kind of in the same boat, or if you've had a bit of experience before, then at the start of the month we have a session for people that are just kind of getting back in touch with rugby. But social media are probably the best way to get in touch, but it's super friendly, so it's an easy first step just to click that button, and you won't regret it. One of us will get back to you, and it will be a lovely experience, I promise.
That sounds fantastic. And have you had much feedback from members of your team to tell you, how much they've enjoyed their involvement?
We can't get our members to shut up, to be honest. No, we love speaking to our members, and actually, and this is part of the ongoing membership experience that Dan talked about, that we want to make sure that we support on. So we get to hear some of their own stories, their lived experiences, what they do outside of the club activities as well. But we try and keep really close to them, and they we're really transparent as well as a club. So hopefully everyone feels like they've got a voice, and they can talk about what they like, what they don't like, how we can improve. Because although we are 6 or 7 years old, it doesn't stop us learning. So as a committee, we learn all the time. We're all volunteers, and we all want to make sure we do the best for our club. But also we understand and appreciate that there's lots of experience out there in some of the players that join. But also, the shifting nature of what people are looking for, and how we stay relevant and how we continue to be a really inclusive and exciting club to join.
Yeah, that's great. And you're also looking for companies to work with?
Yes. Oh, go on, Dan.
Well, I was just going to say yes. We very much rely on the support of the Leeds local community to do what we do. Although we have like a quite a solid membership base, there are a number of companies that we work with at the moment that sponsor our kit, sponsor some of our social media posts, player of the matches, etc. But we are always looking for more, and our next season's sponsors. And it's a really brilliant opportunity to get involved with, because it's more than just ticking that CSR box. It's really getting involved and making a difference in the local community. We're taking our kind of inclusive message across the country, whether that's in the IGR League up in the north or in the south when we all come together, or even overseas when we take part in different tournaments. So for local Leeds brands, it's a brilliant opportunity to get yourself out there and get yourself seen by the rest of the country and internationally.
And again, the best way for companies to get in touch would be through your social media.
Yes, yeah, and Gareth, our sponsorship officer, will get in touch. There's a brilliant pack that he's put together to show all the different opportunities and ways you can get involved. And he'll send that across to you, and have a chat and have a conversation about your aims and what we can do together.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic. Well, I'll make sure that I put lots of links in the podcast notes so people can click through, find out more about you and get involved. So you just mentioned then, Daniel, the IGR League, and in my email from lovely Gareth, he said that you were first in the Northern IGR League 21-22. Can you explain a little bit about what, that's really exciting. What is the IGR League?
Yeah. So the IGR, it stands for International Gay Rugby, and in the UK there are kind of two leagues. There's the Northern League, where all the clubs north of, where is it, Chris? It's beyond the north of Birmingham, isn't it? So your Manchesters, your Leeds, your Yorks, your Hulls, etc., up to Scotland. We kind of play against each other in a league, all the inclusive teams up here. The same happens in the south of the UK. We both have our own separate finals, and then right at the end of the season, we go head to head. The winner of the north goes against the winner of the south to
Excellent.
crown the overall winner of the IGR UK League. And we were really, really chuffed to come top of the table for the Northern League, and just missed out and getting into that whole UK final, but through gritted teeth. Very happy for our Sheffield counterparts for getting there and representing Yorkshire. But yeah, we've come a massive way, and we're really, really hoping to replicate that success in the next season.
And you
Lots of
also runners
enthusiasm.
up at the Hadrian's Cup Tens tournament. What's that?
So that's it's a Hadrian's Cup out in Newcastle. So it's an annual competition. So we take part in a number of competitions and tournaments throughout the year. One of them is hosted by our sisters up in Newcastle, and effectively there's clubs from all over the country. It's a big tens tournament. So a tens tournament is slightly different from normal union rules, where there's just less players on the pitch. So unfortunately, it does mean a little bit more running and a bit more exercise. But it's a really good event. It takes place over a course of a weekend, and the actual competition over a day. And we did absolutely had an amazing time this year. It's normally about March time, so it's not always the warmest. But as a redhead, I don't like the sun too much, so it worked perfectly for me.
Perfect conditions for you. That's brilliant. And you also excitedly you appeared on Channel 4's Steph's Packed Lunch Pride special. That must have been something. What was that like?
I mean, that was a bit of a coup, I think, for the club, wasn't it? We had some friends from West Yorkshire as well go along, and who didn't get as much coverage. They seemed to put the mic in our hands a lot, which was brilliant, nerve-wracking, but brilliant. Really, really good to kind of show. I suppose for a lot of us, we lived our lives relatively in the shadows for a long time. So to see our colleagues on the television on Channel 4 at lunchtime with Steph McGovern of all people
Yeah.
was wonderful. It was brilliant and great for representation. We really hope there were some little kids at home thinking, "Oh, when I grow up, I want to be like that," because that's part of our ethos. We really want to show the community that you can be anything, you can do anything. You don't have to be limited by who you think you are. If all of us can come together and play some really good rugby, then anyone can do anything. And it was lovely to be able to show that on primetime TV.
Wow. And was there anything that sort of surprised you that you didn't expect on that day?
I think the coverage was shocking. I think we were invited along. We thought, okay, we'll be in the background and we'll represent, and it'll be brilliant. But to get to speak, to get to show that message, to get to wear our kit on TV, and be speaking to Steph and being interviewed by Steph was was fantastic. I don't think any of us were really expecting that. It was a great experience.
And you're going to be participating in Leeds Pride?
Yeah, so in the next couple of weeks, so it's the first weekend of August. So we've got a really long history with Pride, and some of the organisers actually used to play for the Leeds Hunters in the past. So we've always had a really good opportunity to represent, and also I guess to show our pride as well in terms of it helps us reach new membership and more players and more potential players of the future. It's a great opportunity to help Leeds celebrate as well, because we've not been able to celebrate Pride for a couple of years. So we'll hopefully come back with a bang. And yeah, basically, what Dad said earlier, show representation in sport, show that we all come in wonderful different shapes and sizes, and that's absolutely okay, because rugby, out of any other sport, is the home for that. We don't mind, if you can only run 5 meters, but you can run really hard for 5 meters brilliantly. Equally, if you can sprint around the pitch 14 times, fantastic. We'll find a home for you, and we'll find a place for you, because we want as many people to join our family as possible.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. That's just a great message. And did you struggle a little bit, I imagine, during COVID, so you wouldn't have been able to get out and meet each other? Did you manage to stay in touch with your group online? How did that work?
Yeah, we probably had, I don't want to boast here, but we probably had one of the better experiences, I guess, of course. So we came closely to some of the other IGR teams, and it was a challenge for all of us, as it was for everyone in the UK. But we recognised that we had to keep that sort of team ethos and team camaraderie together. So we had all sorts of crazy quiz nights, and we had a few of our more distinguished players dress up in drag. So we had some drag queens on video chat and on Zoom, as long as Zoom could hold out for. We even did, shameless to say, that we did some fitness sessions as well, which we didn't always get well attended, especially if there was a bit of booze consumed the night before. But we even managed to sort of keep up with our rugby fitness as well, even though everyone had. So we're doing it with different backpacks and all sorts of different sort of improvised weights, just to make sure that we could stay in touch and keep that ethos going. And then, of course, as soon as it started to lift, we could then we had a sort of a slow pathway back to rugby. So it was very much again and we actually managed to acquire new players through that, because people that had felt deprived from all contact suddenly thought, well, this is my time to get involved. I've waited too long. And so we were able to acquire some new players on the back of that as well, who wanted to get back into fitness, but also spend time with other people and sort of get that club culture back together.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. And so you've both spoken about how long you've been in Leeds. So Daniel, you've been here around a year, and Chris, you said sort of 5 to 6 years. So in my book, that means that you are both qualified to answer the 3 questions that I ask every guest. The first one being, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
Would you like to go first, Chris?
No, I insist. Go on, you, Dan.
I thought about this, and I think maybe a cheesy answer, but one that Leeds people need to be told, is that the people are some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh.
Horribly modest, so wouldn't accept that. But genuinely, having lived in the Midlands for most of my life, lived in London for a while, to move to Leeds and to be able to walk down the street and have a conversation with someone in the co-op, or to laugh and joke with someone, or to feel safe walking around kind of late at night, or if I'm a bit lost asking for directions, cannot be underestimated. I think the people of Leeds are a true asset to where they live, and I know they wouldn't admit it and they would never be able to accept it, but you are brilliant, Leeds people.
That's great, Daniel. What about you, Chris?
Well, how do I follow that one? I mean, I've got even more, but I will say, I agree completely with the sort of the community conversation, but also, I mean, it's a brilliant place. It's you walk on a canal path and 5 minutes out in the countryside. It's a great location. It's got a wonderful energy about it as well. So always feels like something's going on. And I remember I've lived in multiple cities across my lifetime, and I remember always getting off at the train at Leeds station and feeling just that something else. There's a different electricity, there's a different energy around that you just want to get involved in. And I knew, as soon as I got off that train, I knew I was home, and that was the point where I thought, actually, this is where I belong.
Oh, that's a lovely answer. Well, I think the people of Leeds, thank you both for those lovely praiseworthy comments. Now, unfortunately, I have to ask you this question. If you had to choose something that's not so great about the city, what would you choose?
I would choose the trains. I don't think I've got a single train from Leeds. I mean, it's not Leeds' fault, it's cross country's fault. I've never got a train from Leeds that's been on time or got the right number of carriages or had the seat reservations, or there's always been something wrong. So book your ideas up cross country because you're letting us down.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
And also, it's not specifically Leeds' fault, so it's definitely good.
No,
How about you, Chris? What would you go for?
I mean, obviously, we know that Leeds is going through a bit of a regeneration at the moment, which is amazing. I think more green spaces around the city centre would be incredible. I live in the city centre. I don't always have a chance to get out to the big parks out and about. We are gifted with quite a few wonderful parks, but just more green spaces, more social space in the city centre that isn't all concrete and paving slab. That we've got a space to maybe chuck a ball about. Maybe not start a whole rugby match, but at least have a bit of a sit down in the park and chat with friends and have some drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. I think it does seem like they are opening up more. They did put some fake grass outside of the corner exchange for a while.
We love a bit of fake grass.
So slowly we're getting there. And if somebody had been a resident of Leeds for a very long time, would you be able to tell them about something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they might never have heard of?
So other than, of course, the Leeds Hunters that you should absolutely investigate and join if you so wish. There's a lovely little place that we actually hold our committee meetings in called the Wharf Chambers on the south side of the city. That's a really wonderful, inclusive kind of bar social space. So look them up. It's one of the most wonderful places I've been in Leeds, and it's off the beaten track. So check that out. That's a real hidden gem.
It is, yeah. And what about you, Chris? What would you choose?
So I'm going to be really cheeky and choose two because
Yeah.
I'm a fan of a brunch, and there's If on Call Lane, which is absolutely just some of the best food and it's always packed on a Sunday morning. You know where a place is good to eat because you can never get in the door, but they're really really friendly and very quick service and amazing. So and there's a few little other coffee shops around and about, and then the true hidden gem is a little jazz bar called the Domino, which is down underneath a barber's, which is it's just a really novel experience. And I remember going there for the first time and being blown away because you go behind a mirror and all sort of weird and wonderful stuff happens, and then you've got live music nearly every night. So I know they're all food and drink related, but definitely a hidden gem.
Yeah, great choices, fantastic. And what will you both be doing with the rest of your days today?
I'll be working, unfortunately,
Oh.
but it's to be working from home. The dog is asleep on the sofa next to me, so it's not particularly arduous.
No, that's okay. And then you've got the lovely weekend ahead, of course.
Yes.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, pretty much the same, to be honest. I'm Leeds Hunters also supported me to do a personal training qualification, so I'll be doing some personal training in the gym tonight, and then preparing. We've got a monster exercise session, rugby fitness, tomorrow morning at training. So already we've got some players starting to get a bit nervous. So we'll be doing some rugby fitness tomorrow morning as well. So I'll be planning for that.
Oh, well, I wish you all the best. And like I said, I'll put lots of links in the podcast notes that people can get involved. And it's been great speaking to you both.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. You too.
I think you'll agree that Chris and Daniel were great guests, and that Leeds Hunters are definitely a team for us to keep our eye on. If you'd like to join or you'd like more information, you can contact them through the social media. As usual, there's lots of links in the podcast notes so that you can do that. The featured track on this episode is so funky, it is unreal. It's called Send the Rain. It's by a sensational band from Leeds called the United Disco Organisation. I'd fully recommend going and listening to everything they've ever done. Till next time, everyone.
Movement. to the up and down. We said movement to the up and down. 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 We said movement to the up and down. 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 We said movement to the up and down.